This is JD of Bvtvnews, and I'm about to give y'all the latest and greatest news in the sport of boxing, man. With that being said, let's talk about the fight that came out of nowhere, a fight that arguably I don't know that many people really want to see, but let's talk about Iron Mike Tyson versus Jake the Problem Child Paul. It's actually going down on a network that's never ever done, a boxing event like this, and that is Netflix. It's going to be a Netflix pay-per-view on July 20th. We're going to get both of them in the ring. But how in the world did we get to a point where you got one guy whose claim to fame as, a youngster was doing stuff like this on the internet?
Oh, that smells.
And that same, youngster, who is Jake the Problem Child Paul, is now, about to get into the ring and face off against a legend who, when he was, more of a younger guy, his claim to fame was doing stuff like this.
That was a right to the body and an uppercut to the head, and Berbick is down. This one is going to be over, I believe. It's over. That's all, and we have a new era in boxing.
So, when we look at, these two, kind of being the absolute, antithesis of each other, when it comes to really, their trajectory of how their careers went, not to mention, man, we can get into the whole situation surrounding the huge age gap. You got Jake Paul, who is, 27 years of age. You got Iron Mike Tyson at this point, 57 years of age. By the time that they would get in the ring in July, Iron Mike Tyson would be 58 years old. Now, this is actually, a very, full circle moment for Jake Paul and Iron Mike Tyson because, a few years ago, we all remember the hype surrounding, the bout between Roy Jones Jr. and Iron Mike Tyson. And that was a card that Jake Paul was actually a part of. So we saw a few years ago, where Iron Mike Tyson, he actually was one of those people that heaped a lot of praise on Jake Paul for, how he was shifting the sport, how he was bringing in, new fans and the younger generation. And, so now fast forward some years later, we got the both of them getting in the ring with each other. Now, since that occurred, Jake Paul, he's kind of dabbled back and forth, in trying to tell the public that he wants to be a real legitimate boxer and be a champion. But then he also, has always gone for kind of the more lucrative, almost spectacle bouts. It started out with the knockout of Nate Robinson. Then you remember how he faced off against Tyron Woodley twice, smashed him out in devastating fashion. Then, was it Anderson Silva, Nate Diaz? Then he ended up having his first loss against, the British Tommy Fury when they ended up facing off. But, so he's always kind of looked for those spectacle bouts, but he's tried to sell everybody on the idea that he wants to be a real boxer. Now, where I believe we get to this point is when you really look at the last two bouts for Jake Paul. And I'll be honest with you, man, the last two bouts for Jake Paul, I don't think probably any of your typical casual observers, your real casual observers, not anybody who's maybe hardcore, but your typical person in the masses, I'm pretty sure you could not name the two fighters that he just faced off against last, right? And that is Ryan Borland and then Andre August. Like, those names, if you go stop somebody on the street and you ask them, do you know who Andre August is or do you know who Ryan Borland is, they probably would tell you no, right? And so for Jake Paul, who is really used to being in, massive spectacle bouts, I think when you start to look at the numbers, and the pay-per-view and the hype of, these past two bouts against Borland in August, I ain't gonna lie, man, I think the numbers kind of took a steep dive. I mean, naturally, you're going to take a dive off of numbers that you had with Nate Diaz and Tommy Fury if you follow that up with 2 fights against an Andre August, who not many know, or a Ryan Borland that nobody knows. And in the most recent bout with Ryan Borland, that also was the fight where, unfortunately, Amanda Serrano, his fighter who was a part of MVP Promotions, great queen of boxing, queen of Puerto Rico. Unfortunately, remember, she had to cancel her fight due to the hairstyle appointment gone wrong. So that whole card, I know, kind of took a huge hit just about a month ago. And so I know that once that probably transpired, and Jake Paul looked around at the landscape, he knew it was time to get back in the ring with somebody of real household notoriety, somebody that, you don't have to really go sell it really hard. The whole world would know this person. And so enters, his OG, Mr. Iron Mike Tyson, who he once was on his undercard, right? And so now, you give Mike a call, and Mike, at this point, he's down to make, 10, 20 million, from Netflix and pay-per-view. And so here we are with Jake Paul versus Iron Mike Tyson. Now, I personally, I'm not a fan of the bout, but I understand the spectacle of what it will be. Right now, they haven't really announced the undercard for the bout. But that Jake Paul is probably going to, I imagine, that he's going to try to incorporate Amanda Serrano on the undercard. And then I imagine he's going to probably go try to look for, some other notable kind of celebrity, flashy names that want to get in the ring that will kind of make people want to tune in even more. Now, as of right now, there are rumors, right, swirling around what would really be the rules of this potential bout between Iron Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Right now, they're saying it would be at least 18-ounce gloves, and then it would also end up being with headgear on. So it sounds like right now, it would end up being more of a glorified sparring match, which, that's what I personally, as an Iron Mike Tyson fan and believing that he's one of the GOATs in boxing, I would rather it be headgear and the hugest gloves possible. I do not want, a Jake Paul going in there and beating down on an almost 60-year-old man at this point, man. So hopefully, it really is a scenario where it's going to be headgear and very massive gloves. But overall, man, it's a fight that we are going to get. That Jake Paul has to get his profile back up there. It's been kind of taking a little bit of a dip, especially after he lost to Tommy Fury, who was also a real fighter. But now, it looks like he's dipping back in his bag trying to get these celebrities again so that he can make these major paydays, man. And another element in this, too, is the whole Netflix play. Now, we've never, ever seen Netflix, dabble in boxing or live boxing events like this. So this will kind of be the first of its kind for Netflix. There's really not a lot of information just yet as to how with Netflix you would end up purchasing the pay-per-view and how all that, the price point and different things like that. So that'll be information that'll be forthcoming here in the future as we get closer to the bout. But, nevertheless, man, sometimes things like this can be good for the sport. It boosts the profile, even though it's really not a competitive bout. It's almost, kind of glorified boxing WWE. In my opinion, that's exactly what this is. This is Jake Paul, taking that WWE wrestling entertainment element and crossing it over into boxing. And I can't knock Iron Mike Tyson for going ahead and taking 10, 20 million, or however much he may make, for partaking in something like this with Jake Paul. But we'll see who he fills out the undercard with. We'll see what new things happen as we get closer to the bout in July. But, let me know what y'all think about this fight, man. A lot of people, have mixed feelings on this bout. Some people say they'll never pay for this because you got a 57-year-old versus a 27-year-old. Other people, say that they are fully on board with it for the sake of it just being pure entertainment, man. So if you approach it from a lens of it just being pure entertainment, there's some people who are willing to entertain it. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section about Jake Paul versus Iron Mike Tyson. And if it's something that you're going to put your hard-earned dollars down for, man, let me know in the comment section if it's something that you're intrigued to see. But until next time, man, you know this is JD of BBTV News. I'm going to keep giving y'all the latest and greatest news in the sport of boxing. With that being said, man, deuces.